In space, no one can hear you scream. This tagline is more than just a piece of marketing. It is the quintessence of a primal horror that Ridley Scott unleashed in 1979, giving us the concept of truckers in space and introducing one of the most perfect monsters in cinema history. We know the story by heart. A contained drama about 7 people who by a fatal accident found themselves in the wrong place at the wrong time. We empathized with them, we mourned them, we believed in their tragedy. But what if I told you that this entire story is merely a facade? That the tragedy aboard the freighter Nostromo was not an accident, but a cold, ruthless, and repeatedly executed scientific protocol? What if its ill-fated crew has died not once, but dozens, perhaps hundreds of times? That they were never anything more than lab mice, served up to a monster again and again, all to provide a corporation with priceless data harvested from their final, terrifying moments.
Hello, you're watching 2 Second Take. Today, we're taking that second look and, like detectives, piecing together the clues that have always been right in front of our eyes. We'll show you the theory of the Nostromo Scientific Conveyor Belt, which posits that the ship's mission was just another iteration in a series of cruel field tests for a biological weapon. That its crew was nothing more than a disposable batch of artificially grown clones. And that their purpose was not to capture a specimen, but to be the catalyst that would force this creature to reveal all its secrets at the cost of their lives. Let's start with the very foundation, the crew. To conduct a clean scientific experiment, you must control the variables. You can't use 7 random, dissimilar people each time. There are too many chaotic factors. But you can use 7 templates, 7 basic archetypes: the captain, the navigator, the engineers. And from cycle to cycle, you only need to slightly alter their internal parameters. This is precisely why the crew are clones. It's the only way the corporation can guarantee the experiment's repeatability, changing just 1 or 2 psychological variables at any one time. Imagine a matrix of initial conditions that Weyland-Yutani scientists fill out before each new cycle. Iteration number 112. The Ripley clone possesses heightened stress resistance and a tendency towards insubordination. The Lambert clone has an analytical mind, but a low panic threshold. Result? The Xenomorph eliminates the crew in 18 hours using psychological attrition tactics aimed at Lambert. Data saved. Iteration number 113. The Dallas clone is implanted with a tendency for reckless risk-taking, while the Ripley clone is programmed for strict adherence to regulations, making her passive. Result? First contact occurs 40 minutes earlier, and the Xenomorph reaches maturity faster due to the crew's more aggressive actions. Data saved. But even more importantly, the corporation isn't just studying the Xenomorph's reaction to individual traits like leadership or cowardice. It is studying the unpredictable synergistic effect that arises from the combination of these qualities. How does the predator's strategy change if the team includes an impulsive leader and an overly cautious second-in-command? How will the monster's behavior be affected by group dynamics, where the engineers openly sabotage the captain's orders? Each new combination of personalities creates a unique scenario, a unique set of priceless data. The crew are not people in the full sense of the word. They are a set of living initial conditions who, like lab rats, are placed in this deadly pen again and again, cycle after cycle. If we accept the idea of an experiment, everything in the film that seemed strange or illogical suddenly falls into a flawless 3-stage protocol, a standard operating procedure for each cycle on the conveyor belt. Step 1. The lure, the illusion of chance. It all begins with the signal. The ship's computer, Mother, awakens the crew ahead of schedule, reporting that it has intercepted a transmission from an unknown planetoid. Ripley later discovers that Mother had deciphered it as a distress signal, a warning. But let's pause for a moment and ask a simple question. How? How can an Earth-built computer from the 21st century instantly, without any context or key, decipher the complex, utterly alien language of a civilization that died out millennia ago? The answer is simple. It can't. It's technologically impossible. A far more logical and chilling explanation is that there was no distress signal. Perhaps there was no signal at all. Mother, following its core programming, simply lied to the crew. It generated a fictitious reason, a mysterious transmission, and backed it up with a clause in their employment contract that, under penalty of forfeiture of all shares, obliges them to investigate any such case. This is the first stage of the trap, a perfectly designed illusion of chance that makes the clones believe they are acting of their own free will, steering their ship directly into the monster's jaws. Step 2. Infection, the programmed error. Next comes the most crucial part of the protocol, delivering the pathogen on board. For this, each batch of clones has its own Trojan horse, its own programmed patient zero, Executive Officer Kane. Recall his behavior on the derelict ship. An experienced crew member, having been briefed, sees a vast field of clearly biological objects resembling eggs. His reaction? In violation of every conceivable safety protocol, he approaches one, gets up close, and then, driven by some unnatural, almost childlike curiosity, peers inside. This is not curiosity. This is not human error. This is a script. It's a deep behavioral program embedded in his clone which activates at the sight of the eggs. His sole function in this cycle is to be an incubator, to initiate the main phase of the experiment by ensuring the monster gets on board. From iteration to iteration, this script plays out unchanged, guaranteeing the purity and repeatability of the subsequent observations. He is the disposable ignition key for this infernal machine. Step 3. Observation. The eyes of the corporation. Once the monster is on board, the experiment's chief overseer openly enters the game, Science Officer Ash. He's not just an android. He's a fully aware controller, the only entity on the ship who remembers all the previous cycles. His job is not to help the crew, but to ensure the experiment proceeds according to plan and to collect data. Recall his actions. He allows the infected Kane back on the ship, violating Ripley's direct order to quarantine. He sabotages the crew's attempts to find out the truth. He protects the newborn Xenomorph. And his famous Special Order 937, ensure return of organism for analysis, crew expendable. This isn't some secret directive no one knows about. It is the official statement of purpose for the current iteration. Ash knows full well that the return of the organism is merely a pretext, a formal objective. The true goal, hidden behind this phrasing, is to ensure the collection of a complete data package on the Xenomorph's behavior when confronted with this specific batch of clones. His calmness in the face of death and chaos is not a glitch in his programming. It is the composure of a scientist observing a predictable chemical reaction. And his famous admiration for the perfect organism is not the astonishment of a discoverer. It is a conclusion drawn from hundreds of previous cycles, hundreds of annihilated crews, and terabytes of data on the flawless effectiveness of this predator. He is the living black box of this endless nightmare.
Our channel is still very young, and your support is the only thing that allows us to continue searching for hidden meanings in beloved films. So if you enjoyed this analysis, please like and subscribe. So what is the ultimate global objective of this monstrous project? The answer sounds like a scientific discipline from hell: Xenoethology, the applied science of the alien's behavior. But this is not a fundamental science driven by a thirst for knowledge. It is a cruel, cynical, applied discipline within Weyland-Yutani's program to develop and subsequently sell the most perfect biological weapon in the universe. To create the user manual for this weapon, you must thoroughly study how it works, and the Nostromo is their testing ground. How do they collect the data? By putting new and different batches of disposable material on the conveyor belt. A new Ripley, a new Lambert, a new Dallas, with a full set of implanted memories of a life they never had, awakened from hypersleep. They believe in their mortgages, their families, their plans for the future. They do not know that they are merely the 100th or 1000th iteration in an endless series of tests, doomed from the very beginning. And then, in sterile offices back on Earth, the scientists begin their observation. It is here that the cold scientific cynicism of Weyland-Yutani reaches its apex, transforming into something even more vile. One can easily imagine how, for these people, separated from the horror by billions of kilometers, the tragedy becomes routine, and then entertainment. Watching the biometric data on their monitors, they turn human agony into a corporate betting pool. What do you think, Jenkins? Who lasts the longest in this batch? I'll put 100 credits on the engineer. The Parker clone in this build has a heightened survival instinct and above-average aggression levels. Too obvious. My money's on Ripley. In this iteration, she's showing interesting logical anomalies, deviating from the standard compliance protocol. It might give her an edge, or get her killed first if she draws the asset's attention. 50 credits says she's gone within 6 hours. They are interested exclusively in the Xenomorph. How does its behavior change depending on the crew's characteristics? Will it choose the panicking crew member as its first victim to amplify fear within the group? Or will it target the strongest member to eliminate the primary threat? Will coordinated teamwork force it to adopt more sophisticated hunting tactics, using the ventilation shafts and hiding in the shadows? This is big data collection, where the price of every line of data in the report is the unbearable suffering and brutal death of living beings, who, until their last breath, believe themselves to be human. But how do we know this is an endless cycle? Is it just a guess based on circumstantial evidence? Perhaps. Or perhaps director Ridley Scott left us a blatant clue, a key to the puzzle that we simply missed, hypnotized by the monster. It is the drinking bird. At the beginning of the film, when all is still calm, we get a glimpse of this simple novelty toy. It monotonously, mechanically, and mindlessly repeats the same action, over and over and over. This is not just a piece of set dressing meant to liven up the frame. It is an incredibly powerful visual symbol. It is a metaphor for everything that is happening. This bird is the entire Nostromo project. Endless mechanical cycles in which the clones, like this toy, play out the same scenario, time and time again. The bird drinks, the cycle runs. The crew dies, the data is collected. The bird drinks again, and a new, fresh batch of clones with implanted memories steps on board for the conveyor belt to start all over again. This tiny, insignificant detail is the director screaming the truth at us, a key to the entire theory hidden in plain sight. In the finale, Ellen Ripley, covered in blood and soot, destroys the Xenomorph and her ship. We perceive this as her victory, a hard-fought, agonizing victory. She survived. She won. But for the Weyland-Yutani Corporation, this is not a failure. It is not a catastrophe or the loss of a valuable asset. It is the routine, successful completion of another test cycle. The mission's primary product is not the ship, nor the 20 million tons of mineral ore. The primary product is the terabytes of priceless telemetry on the creature's behavior that Mother, under Ash's careful guidance, managed to transmit to a central server before the ship was vaporized into a cloud of incandescent plasma. The destruction of the Nostromo is nothing more than the scheduled sterilization of the laboratory after the experiment is complete. The story of the Nostromo is not the tragedy of 7 people. It is just one page torn from the endless lab journal of Weyland-Yutani. And the greatest horror of the film Alien is not the monster with acid for blood and a second jaw. The greatest horror is the cold, pragmatic, soulless calculation of a corporation for which human lives, suffering, and the very soul are merely expendable materials in the field testing program for their new biological weapon. The experiment is complete. The data has been received. It's time to put the next batch on the conveyor belt.
But what do you think? Was Ripley's survival a true victory against the monster, or was it merely an unexpected outcome of the experiment, a statistical anomaly that Weyland-Yutani simply logged for the next cycle? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.